Hi, Phil Schoenberg, Fastpitch Power. We've had a number of inquiries from our young developing pitchers now that the season has started about spin, how to create it, and release point. Now, I say that in a way that is going to sound like I believe that there is actually a release point. There is no release point, and I'll get to that in a second. But many of the young developing pitchers who are following us on Instagram and on our website and YouTube and so on and so forth are struggling with transition from what they did initially as young pitchers, maybe in Little League or recreational softball, and what they're trying to do in transitioning to becoming a true windmill pitcher. So a number of the followers of Fastpitch Power have indicated that they're releasing the ball way out in front of them and the ball's going way high and it doesn't seem to have any spin on it at all. So let me explain how that particular problem develops. When most young softball players start playing at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, whenever it is that they start to play recreational softball or Little League, they're taught to pitch in a way called slingshot pitching. And for those of you who don't know what that is, and maybe you use different terminology than we use, but it's basically taking a girl who's going to the 8-foot circle after they're no longer having coaches pitch for them, or hitting a ball off a tee and having the athletes start learning how to get into the 8-foot circle and deliver the ball to the strike zone. They basically swing their arm backwards and push the ball forward. Now you'll notice when I do that, I'm moving my stride foot forward and I'm leaning and I'm trying to guide the ball to home plate somewhere so it lands in the strike zone so a young hitter can have an opportunity to swing the bat and start to learn how to hit the ball. And this is how most young pitchers are introduced to the skill. Now, that's all well and good when you're trying to have a game where you're not just walking batters around the bases and you're trying to teach the girl to just have their palm forward and push the ball to home plate. And you'll notice, anybody who's been following Fastpitch Power, that the body position that I'm in is almost diametrically opposite to the body position that we want our pitchers to be in, which is back here behind their wall of resistance and firing the ball to the plate instead of leaning forward and pushing to the ball to the plate. Now, many of these young developing pitchers, as they transition to windmill, well, okay, now they're doing a circle, but they're basically doing exactly the same thing as they were doing slingshot, except now they've added an arm circle. Well, that's not really windmill pitching. So in order to create the kind of spin, and we're only going to talk about fastballs today because the spin that you create for a screwball, a curveball, a drop ball, or a rise ball is different. So we're going to deal with fastballs because we're dealing mainly with young developing pitchers, but the concept remains the same no matter what it is that you're trying, no matter what kind of pitch it is that you're trying to deliver. So spin rate, you hear them talk about it all the time in Major League Baseball with Major League Baseball pitchers. Spin rate is critical for speed and command. And for the purposes of this particular post, we're going to talk about grip. We're going to talk about release zone, not release point. And we're going to talk about how you generate that spin and that speed, which will enable you to command that strike zone with maximum speed. The faster the ball spins, the more speed you have, the more tracking you have in a fastball, the more you are able to command that strike zone without having to slow down or push the ball to guide it. Now, those young pitchers who are releasing the ball out here, I can guarantee you are not using forearm fire and are not spinning the ball. They're pushing, and the ball, if it spins that much, it's going to be a lot. So let's first talk about the grip. I'm going to come in, may not be able to see all of me at this point, but you should be able to see my hand. You'll see that the seam makes the letter C, okay? And if I'm a right-hand pitcher, it's opposite for a lefty, and I stretch my fingers over the seams are very important, I'm going to have a little C in the corner of my hand now. That enables me to have fingers on the forward seam and my thumb on the underneath seam. I need that resistance in order to create the kind of snap and spin that I want, and in order to get the ball to tumble true toward home plate. This is called a C grip, which is, in softball terminology, the same thing as a four-seam fastball in baseball, okay? A baseball pitcher is going to throw the ball with basically the same grip, and it's going to snap forward, and it's going to have four seams spinning really fast toward the catcher. This is the kind of fastball that tracks truest. There are two-seam fastballs. There's other kind of fastballs you can throw, but for a major league pitcher, you'll hear them talk about a lot about four-seam fastballs. Maximum speed, maximum tracking, so long as your hand path and your arm angle is consistent and correct. So the first thing I want to make sure of is that I have a good C grip, four-seam grip, which enables me when I snap, and I'm creating an awful lot of spin with that wrist snap. When I snap, I'm creating a lot of spin. Spin means speed, spin means command, spin means true tracking. So I want that ball to spin as fast as I can. Now, a 10, 11, 12-year-old pitcher is not going to be able to spin the ball like some of the college pitchers can. But it's all a matter of developing proper mechanics and understanding how to position your body. I'm going to step back. And how to put your body in position to deliver the ball, not with a lean and a push, but with front side resistance. Forearm fire, we've talked about it a million times, where your elbow comes to the back of the throw zone. I'm holding the ball now, C grip, okay? Palm up, elbow down, and when I get to the back of the throw zone with my elbow, I'm going to extend and I'm going to snap. But you'll notice that I'm not thinking about a snap point. Some coaches will tell you, well, you get to your back hip and you snap, and then you pick your arm up. Well, we call that hello elbow, and that's not something that we teach at Fastpitch Power. We're teaching extension, which is where power comes from, overhand throw, extension, batting, extension, any kind of athletic movement you can think of requires that elbow extension, not elbow flexion. We're teaching extension at the back of the throw zone, and if my hand and wrist are nice and loose and relaxed, I really don't even have to think too much about snapping, and it's the snap that creates the spin. And by the way, not a finger curl. You'll see some young pitchers do this to create spin. Now, I'm making the ball spin, but that's not going to go anywhere. I need an open, relaxed, neutral wrist that has maximum snapping range when I get to the back of the throw zone, which is right here. Now as I extend, you'll see my wrist is nice and loose. I'm not holding the ball like I'm choking a chicken here. I'm holding the ball like I'm cradling a baby bird. And I don't want it to fly away, but I also don't want to squeeze so hard that its beak comes flying off. Okay, so I want a nice, soft, relaxed wrist. As I extend, my wrist is naturally going to snap forward, and I'm going to extend to the end of the throw zone. When I do that, and I snap, and if you were to slow that down frame by frame, you will see the snap takes place in a zone about that long. I don't want to be moving my arm around at 55, 60 miles an hour, and in my mind think, I got to stop at my hip, snap, and then do something. I want continuous acceleration, and I want a relaxed lower arm from the elbow down to my fingertips to create that extension, forward snap. That forward snap is going to create that true four-seam spin to my target, never leaning past my wall of resistance, firing to the end of the throw zone and driving through. So if I put my body in the correct position and I'm actually coming off the pitching rubber this way, windmill pitch, full arm circle, getting to the back of the throw zone, and then extending and snapping forward and completing my delivery and drive-through. I'm going to start to develop that spin that I need to throw the ball on a straight line to my target without having to push and lift like I did when I was throwing slingshot when I was 7 years old. So the transition from that movement to this movement can be challenging. But once the athlete understands how putting your body in the correct position and how utilizing forearm fire, go onto our site and you can learn a lot about forearm fire, how that is going to enhance their development as pitchers, well, then you'll start to see good results. So I hope that this has been useful. We love to hear your comments. Keep them coming. And if you're still struggling, we learned a lot about what I'm talking about because we asked some of these followers, they're not necessarily our students, to send us some videos of what their pitchers are doing, and it was consistent. So there was a pattern. So we were able to determine how to tailor this post toward what was going on. That's what we love to do. So keep your comments coming. If you have any questions or issues, we'd love to answer them for you. Talk to you next time.